Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here today to film one gigantic book haul. So I have been purchasing books for the last few months and sort of stacking them up on a shelf and thinking, oh, I'll do a book haul any day now. And time got away from me and the stack of books got away from me, and all of a sudden it was basically two stacks of books, and I was like, I guess I better do a book haul before that gets any larger. So here we are, and I am going to go through these with you probably fairly quickly because there are quite a few of them, but I'm very excited by all of these books, and many of them I purchased because of BookTube, so there's that. So here we go. The first one I have to show you I got from Book Depository, and it's When I Hit You by Mena Kandasamy, I think is how you say her name. And of course this book has been shortlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction for this year. There have been several reviews of this book by various folks on BookTube, and each of them has made me more and more intrigued. There was an excellent review from Jennifer at Insert Literary Pun here, and I believe Britt Bowler over at The Second Shelf also reviewed this one, and I can't remember, there may have been some other folks as well, but there's been some excellent reviews of this, and I'm very much looking forward to reading this one. So far, the best book that I've read off the Women's Prize list so far has been Home Fire by Camilla Shamsie, so we'll see how I feel about this one after I've read it. The next one I picked up also because of BookTube. This is Nevermoor by Jessica Townsend. It's the first book in the Trials of Morrigan Crow, which I believe is a fantasy series that is currently, I think the second book's due out this year at some point. I saw Mercedes over at Mercy's Bookish Musings talk about this, and also Doris at All D Books talk about this, and it sounds like an awesome middle grade sort of magical school in the vein of Harry Potter type series, and I have been looking for a young adult middle grade fun fantasy series to sink into this summer. So I'm super excited. I looked for this book at multiple bookstores and finally found it at Bull Moose in Bangor, Maine, and because I think I was looking in the wrong section. This was in the children's fiction section versus the YA section. But in any case, I'm delighted to have it. I think this cover is super fun and makes me want to dive right into it. So looking forward to that one. Also at Bull Moose, I picked up We Need New Names by NoViolet Bulawayo. This is a fiction book about the immigrant experience. It has been highly praised. I've actually heard both good and bad reviews of this, but I have been interested in reading it ever since I first heard about it. I was super excited to pick this one up used for like $3 or $4. And this follows 10-year-old Darling from Zimbabwe, and as she grows up and moves to America, and the change in her life from living in Zimbabwe to living in America. I'm very interested in reading. I've been interested in reading the immigrant story or immigrant stories for the last year or so, and this book falls squarely into that theme for me. The next book is another one I picked up from Book Depository recently, and it's Terra Nullius by Claire Coleman. This book I bought solely because of Leah over at Hide and Seek. Her review of this book sounded amazing. This was also on the Stella Prize shortlist, I believe. So this is a book by a woman author from Australia. It is a dystopia, and other than that, I don't really know too much about it. I like a good dystopian fiction now and again, and Leah's review really sold it to me, and I'm excited to read a little more Australian fiction. The next book I picked up, I got used in hardcover again from Bull Moose, and this is The River of Doubt, Theodore Roosevelt's Darkest Journey by Candice Millard. This nonfiction talks about Theodore Roosevelt's journey up the Amazon River, in after 1912. So this is supposed to be like sort of an adventure story. It's true. It's what happened to Roosevelt. And I am going to start this one. Sorry, there's a little bit of shadow there from the window. I'm supposed to be starting this one with Doris over at Aldi Books. We're going to do a buddy read of this one starting this coming Monday. So looking forward to that one. I've actually been wanting to read something by Candice Millard for a while. She's written lots of historical type nonfiction about different presidents in the United States, and I've been wanting to read her stuff for a while, so I'm excited to get to that one. So that's one stack of new books down. On to the next stack. A while ago, at a used bookstore, I picked up this book, The Devil's Highway, a true story by Luis Alberto Urrea. Urrea. I'm not really sure how you pronounce his last name. Sorry about that. So this is a book that talks about... It follows 26 men who in May 2001 attempted to cross the Mexican border into the desert of southern Arizona through the deadly region known as the Devil's Highway, a desert so harsh and desolate that even the border patrol is afraid to travel through it, a place that for hundreds of years has stolen men's souls and swallowed their blood. Only 12 of the men made it out. So this book I've heard talked about on BookTube in the past, and like I said, I have been interested in immigration as a theme in my reading for the last year. I really was into it last fall. Read quite a few books about immigration at that time. And this was one of the books that had been recommended that I picked up, that I should pick up for more information about the immigrant experience from Mexico and South America into the United States, people who walk to the United States and cross the border that way. This one I've been very much looking forward to. I was excited to find it again used. I think I picked it up at a Goodwill for like $1 or $2, so that was an awesome find. The next two books I bought several months ago after my buddy read with Patrice Jones, where we read Ancillary Justice, the sci-fi that followed an AI in a human body as she sort of tried to enact revenge and get on the person who had destroyed her ship. And that book I very much loved and wanted to read the next two books in the series, so I picked up Ancillary Sword and Ancillary Mercy, the next two books in the series. So Ancillary Sword, I believe, is book 2 in the series, and this one follows Breck again, the same character that we followed in book 1, as her adventures continue. And then Ancillary Mercy continues the story as well. I have no idea what this third one's about, but I liked the first one enough that I wanted to read the next two in the series, so I picked these up. And I also I was interested to get, the matching paperbacks with the one that I already had. So those two, I'm looking forward to some new sci-fi. Another used book that I picked up is In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. I have somewhere up here a very used, oh, here it is right here, at a yard sale a long time ago. I picked up this mass market In Cold Blood with the yellow end pages and this truly ugly cover long time ago, and I think I just didn't want to read that copy. It was so ugly and gross and kind of smells a little bit, so I think I'm just going to trash that one. And I found this nice trade paperback edition of In Cold Blood at the used bookstore for like $2 or something. So this, everybody knows about In Cold Blood. It's like the classic true crime story about a small in a small town in America. A family is killed in cold blood, and Truman Capote sort of researches that murder and tries to give the backstory and how that all came to be and what happened. And I've never read it, and everybody says it's awesome, so I definitely want to read that one. And then, as some of you may know, I've talked about in the past, I've been trying to complete a list of classics that a teacher gave me in high school called a reading list for college-bound students, and I only have like 10 or a dozen books left to read on that list, and one of them is The Stranger by Albert Camus. And I happened to come across this copy in a used bookstore as well. I didn't have a copy of it, so I grabbed it. It's pretty short, so at some point I'll be picking this up in order to complete my reading. Oh, there's a hornet in here, and it's now landed on my camera, so hopefully it will be happy with my camera and leave me alone. Whew. So we'll just try to ignore that. So yes, The Stranger by Albert Camus is on the list to be read at some point. Now, while I was in Washington, D.C. in April, I visited some bookstores, and I also, of course, went in and now, look, the hornet is now on the camera. Go away, hornet. It just crossed over the lens of the camera. Oh my God. What a nightmare. Anyway, so while I was in Washington, D.C., I happened to go into the gift shop bookstore that was near the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Memorial, and Eleanor Roosevelt is my favorite first lady and a person that I'm very interested in learning more about. So I picked up this nonfiction, America, 1933, The Great Depression, Lorena Hickok, Eleanor Roosevelt, and the Shaping of the New Deal by Michael Golay. And this, I think, is supposed to tell the story of Eleanor Roosevelt and her best friend and perhaps lover, Lorena Hickok. And Lorena Hickok was actually a news reporter, and that's how she gained access to the White House. And I believe her and Eleanor Roosevelt became friends after that. And she was very much involved with Eleanor Roosevelt's work on social problems of the day. And I don't know too much more about it. I got interested in reading more about their relationship because I heard reviews of a new novel that came out recently called White Houses by Amy Bloom. I haven't read that book yet or found a copy of it, but I do plan to read that book. But I kind of wanted to read some of the historical background about these two ladies before I read a fictional take on their relationship. So that's why I picked this one up. And then at Print Bookstore in Portland, Maine, I visited that on my way home from Washington, D.C., and I picked up book 2 in the Themis Files science fiction series, the first of which was called, what was the first one called? I can't remember what the first one was called of this series, but I really enjoyed it. Sleeping Giants. So I read Sleeping Giants when it came out, the year it came out, and then I never got around to picking up the second one until now, and the third one has come out this month. So the trilogy is complete, and I can actually read the whole thing. And these science fiction books, I really enjoyed Sleeping Giants because of the way it was told. It's kind of told in reports. There's, a giant robot hand is found in the earth, and then plot ensues after this, and everybody's trying to figure out where this giant robot hand came from, how it got buried in the ground. Are there other giant robot parts anywhere else in the world? And so there's this scientific inquiry and government inquiry and all these things happening, and you're learning the story through reports and interviews. And I really like that format in books. I really like that multimedia format, and it's sort of that outside looking in perspective. I really enjoy that in science fiction. And I'm very much looking forward to reading this book 2 and then moving on to book 3 now that it's been published. Another book I picked up, and this one I picked up in DC at Politics and Prose at the Wharf. I picked up Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. This is a Jane Austen that I have not read. I love Pride and Prejudice. It's one of my top novels of all time. I've read it multiple times. I've read Emma. I've read Sense and Sensibility. And I've read Persuasion. But I have never read Northanger Abbey. And this year for the Book Riot Read Harder Challenge, one of the challenges is to read a book that was published posthumously, and I believe Northanger Abbey was published after Jane Austen passed away. So it's a wonderful opportunity for me to read a Jane Austen that I have not already read, and to also complete a challenge for the Read Harder Challenge. So that's why I picked this one up. I don't even know what this one's about. I'm sure it's, you know, social commentary. I think it's kind of maybe a little bit of a gothic novel, kind of a thing, but I don't really know. I just know that I've been wanting to read it, and I'm gonna check it out here this year. The last two books I have to show you, I picked up at there was a scholastic book fair at one of the local elementary schools that my two nieces go to, and they opened it up to the public, and it was buy one get one free, and if the school sold enough product, earned enough money, they can have another buy one get one free book fair next fall. So, you know, I like to support my local schools. I like to support my niece's elementary school in particular, and I love to buy books. So I figured that was a good way for me to like be civic minded and also, you know, help myself. So I picked up this one, 365 Days of Wonder, Mr. Brown's Precepts, a quote for every day of the year about courage, friendship, love, and kindness by R.J. Palacio, who is the author of the middle grade book Wonder, which I love that book. That book, I think, is one of the best middle grade books, probably one of the best books. I mean, let's not qualify. It's one of the best books I've ever read. I love Wonder. I buy it as a gift for everyone as much as I can. I love the movie. I love everything about it. It's everything that I think young people's fiction should be. It tells a wonderful story. And so when I saw this one and I kind of flipped through it, I just thought it was great. So the quotes in here are not only from historical figures, but also from just kids that were asked to give quotes. So here's one for February 7th. It says, "If you ever feel lost, let your heart be your compass." And that is by Emily, just a young person who gave her thoughts for this book. And here's another one for April 16th. "You can complain because roses have thorns, or you can be grateful because thorn bushes have roses." From Ziggy, or Tom Wilson in parentheses. And then it also has, you know, some quotes from things like "Courage is found in unlikely places" from J.R.R. Tolkien. And I just thought it'd be a fun thing to flip through as a pick-me-up. I also like to scrapbook, and always looking for quotes for my scrapbook pages. So I just thought this was a fun one to pick up. And then the second book I picked up, because it was buy one, get one free, you might as well buy two, right, for the price of one. I picked up Brave by Svetlana Chmakova. I hope that's right. I'm not really sure. And this is another middle grade. This is a graphic novel. And it's kind of written, here's the style of the art. I think it looks pretty fun. And this is sort of a school novel, and it says here on the back, what does it mean to be brave? And in this one, the main character, who I believe is this young man right here, his name is Jensen, and he has daydreams about being a hero, but middle school is real hard. He has struggles in math class, he has struggles with friendship, and he gets drawn into the school newspaper and into friendship with these two young ladies who are Jenny and Akila. And so let's see how his life is going to change once he's dragged into the school newspaper and into an unlikely friendship with these two young ladies. And I think this sounds just like a lot of fun and a great little, again, feel-good book to read. And I just, you know, couldn't resist. So that's what I've picked up in the last few months. There have been a couple other books that I've picked up as well, but I've either read them and talked about them already on my channel, or I am currently in the process of reading them, and I will be talking about them as I finish them up. But I hope there's some things in there that you might find interesting. I'm really excited. The problem with all of these books and buying all these books is now I'm super excited to read them all, and how do you pick which one to read next? So luckily, like I said, I do have a couple of buddy reads coming up, which will allow me to pick up some of these for those buddy reads, and otherwise I'll be working my way through them hopefully this summer. But I hope you are all doing well, and I will talk to you later.